It was the devil in disguise. In that night's public appearance, sitting in the Catholic audience, it chose to be a woman, looking exactly like the 1960s child murderer Myra Hindley. It loved to tease the public in choosing evil people from the past. The thrill was when somebody just suddenly stared, frozen in the moment from visual shock. The quartet choir called themselves Voices of the Angels, and the devil knew they weren't far off. Their vocal sound, combined with the acoustics of the church, would even encourage atheists to believe. Their singing was simply beautiful, just like real-life angels. Satan loved attending enemy churches, especially the preserved iconic Italian ones. It's a place of rest and contemplation for her. Time out from spreading poison. It loved being where it wasn't meant to be. The devil was supreme in this environment created by the dreams of insane men from centuries ago. Satan was proud of that moment from long ago when it whispered the idea of different gods in order to create hope, society control and bigotry. Although it knew throughout decades some religions would encourage kindness and love, witnessing the destructive dominant religious core was well worth it, especially as Satan itself instigated the birth of the religious extremist. Listening to the choir, it thought about recent fun achievements. It chuckled thinking about how it managed to make the United Kingdom to be home to more obese women than anywhere else in Europe. It was proud how compliant many humans were with their obsessive paperwork, red tape, where pedantic ruled over common sense. All good evil achievements spreading over the years. No one knew the devil's wicked ways. No one knew its sinister technique. Even the millions of soldier demons that work for it were oblivious to the craft of their leader. Brutal and indiscriminate slaughter, exploiting human fear and fatal diseases were a few of the many easy evil projects the devil implemented. Now the real fun came from the small jobs that took careful planning, like child grooming gangs, celebrity sex pests, domestic violence and child neglect. The best part for Satan was watching how gentle society's deterrent and prison sentencing is. Satan's core intention was getting the world to be overpopulated with newborns from inbred families. In many cities the devil's work was done. Mass human population target reached. After its time observing in the holy place, watching and listening to the choir, Satan focused on its own spirit guide and travelled to an empty house well away from the heat of the Italian sun. In this European home it sensed everyone was at work or at school. The house smell and overall vibe was welcoming, with no hauntings or negativity. At a later time, Satan would instruct a small demon soldier team to settle here and encourage the woman of the household to physically abuse its only young child. Within 13 minutes, the doorbell rang. From observing the photographs in the hallway, the devil changed its appearance to that of the man of the house. It hated the large build of the man. However, in its perfect imitation, apart from the vocal, it opened the door. Outside there stood two suited men, one old standing behind the younger gentleman. Devil instinctively knew they were son and father. The younger smiled with a leaflet in his hand. "We are asking neighbours in the area if they believe in angels." Smiling, Satan replied, "Would you believe me if I said I am one?" Everybody laughed. False laughter. "Seriously, it's my birthday today and I'm going to watch a blood transfusion." The younger brainwashed man said, "Have we come across you before?" "You'll never forget me now," Satan said. The men started to turn to walk away, knowing they stumbled on one of those typical cheeky ones. As they turned round to leave, their backs facing darkness, Satan friendly patted the older one on his shoulder like an old friend would do. "Did you notice it? That's the devil's technique, Satan's secret way. A gentle tap on the shoulder, no plague, famine or flood." Although the two black-suited individuals were indoctrinated with harmless crazy, Satan's kind hand passed on man's biggest self-destruction: psychopathic mental illness. After hours knocking on doors and ringing doorbells, later inside their cold-looking, dull home, the father found new strength. He slapped his suited son in the face with a house brick. After collecting son's teeth off the carpet, he placed the plastic washing up bowl on the floor next to his son's head. And then he used a fish knife to frantically drill out a hole in his son's throat. His son immediately woke in shock. Daddy was ready, expecting this would happen. Then, reusing the brick, a stronger impact crashed into son's forehead. Instant skull fracture, instant brain hemorrhage, instant death. Smiling and weeping, he finished excavating his son's throat hole and did his best to collect the dark pouring blood into the bowl. When bowl was half full, he poured the young blood into a saucepan. It was a clumsy job, blood splashed all over the place. He continued to boil some of the blood like soup until he thought all the impurities were killed off. Then, after watching the crimson simmer, he used duct tape to seal his son's throat hole. He placed his dead child in a sit-up position and with a drinking glass scooped up the heated blood and poured it back into the gaping mouth of his son. Most of it seeped out from behind the duct tape. Father carried out his own in-house twisted blood transfusion without a donor. He felt free for the first time, no religious issues. He welcomed his new God that was watching him from the ceiling. Father lay down onto the crimson-soaked floor, rolling from left to right, making a sound like a wounded pig. Not long now until he repeats his new technique with his partner. After witnessing this intimate family insanity, Satan patted another 13 shoulders that day. So if someone did that to you recently, male or female, friend or stranger, you won't be able to prevent yourself from what you are about to do.